Oh, did you have a good first quarter of the year? Yeah. Okay, keep going. You gonna stay here? Are you gonna stay here for it? Are you gonna be my co-host? Are you gonna be my co-host? Welcome back to my very lazy podcast, fully self-indulgent podcast for me to track my thoughts on the things I consume media-wise throughout the year. We just finished our 2025 videos, and so we're gonna go into 2026, talking about 2026. Okay, we had to resituate, but we're back. And we're going to talk about 2026, specifically the first quarter of 2026, of course. That's all we've really got done. But we're going to talk about all the media I consumed in that time. We're just going to touch on TV and movies, and then we're going to dig deep into the details of the books that I read this year. Did I really do everything I set out to do at the beginning of this year, books wise, or getting what movies and TV shows I wanted to get out of the way? No, but that's okay. We're going to talk about what I did watch and read. I've been doing a Yellow Jackets rewatch with my best friend Sabrina. This is her first time watching it. This is my who God knows what time watching it. But I am really enjoying, especially now leading up to season 4, the final season, which everybody says is coming out at the end of this year. I would not make bets on that. I don't know why that's being published in all the articles about this final season because I just don't see that happening, just based on how things have gone in the past with TV shows. But if it's going to come out this year, I will be very happy. I just don't think so. But um, we're on season 2 right now, and I have really enjoyed going through it with someone who's never seen it before because she's reminding me of things that I had forgotten about. She's making me think about things I never really thought about, and so it's been really fun. And I'm really excited for us to watch the final season together when it comes out. Next thing I watched TV wise this quarter is Bridgerton. This was kind of a filler season for me, and if I'm honest, I'm not a huge Benedict fan, which is sad because I love the Cinderella fairy tale trope. Um, so I thought that would be really fun. And it was, don't get me wrong, I had fun with this season. I really loved Sophie Yerenha. The actress who plays her is amazing. She's so funny. I always love the press for Bridgerton. I think they do really fun press tours. But I cared the most about Francesca. She became my favorite character last season. And that became even more so this season. I love Hannah Dodd. I think she's the best actress on Bridgerton right now. And I'm really excited for season 5. So really, it was like getting through season 4 so we can get to season 5. I was really hoping it would be a Michaela and Francesca season, and they announced that it was. So really, like I'm not the kind of person that wants to speed up time and like skip a bunch of time to get things because I know the time will pass anyway. But the time honestly could not pass fast enough to get to that new season of Bridgerton. They're filming right now, and yeah, I think it's going to be really good, hopefully. But yeah, I did enjoy season 4, and I think Bridgerton is always fun. No matter like which way you rank the seasons or the couples, it's always fun, and people just need to accept that. Next thing I'm going to talk about is some reality TV, of course. First thing is the America's Next Top Model reality check documentary. Very interesting, of course, sparked my interest in America's Next Top Model, which I hadn't been watching. I probably haven't watched a season of America's Next Top Model since college, like undergrad. And I went back and rewatched some of my favorite seasons after this documentary, which, like I said, was very interesting. And I just call bullshit on a lot of things they were saying in the documentary. I think all of those people are evil. And it wasn't just, the powers that be and Tyra. Don't get me wrong. I think it is mostly the powers that be and Tyra that made this absolutely horrendous. But the Jays, Nigel, Janice, they all were parts of it. Okay, no one forced them to say the things they said. At least not all the time. You can tell not all the times. But man, the way they tried to put it on the viewer was insane. Like, don't get me wrong, I talk about all the time how much I love reality TV and how I'm very aware of the moral failings of the reality TV industry and like what it takes to be on reality TV, that it's just exploitation in general. But um, no one is asking for the racism, the sexual assault, the mental and physical abuse of those girls, young girls. That was one thing that really struck me rewatching it this time, because the first time I ever watched America's Next Top Model, I was about the age of all the girls on there, and now I would be the age of like the oldest girl on an original season of America's Next Top Model. Like, it would be her whole storyline that she was 27, Scandal. And those are babies. Those girls are babies, the things that y'all are putting them through. And yeah, no viewer wanted that. I don't know. I don't get what Tyra was saying about that. And I think there should have been a lot more pushback on that part of the documentary. And then I watched Love is Blind season 10. Yikes. Yikes. This is post reunion and post reunion um, interviews. I hate them all. And I come out of every new Love is Blind season just angry. And I don't know why I keep watching it. I don't know why they keep making it. I guess they keep making it because of people like me who are going to watch it no matter what. But the Manosphere, Ohio bullshit that this season was on was extraordinary. The past few seasons have just been boring. This one was interesting and kept me interested, but in all the wrong ways. So yeah, I did think the reunion was good. I will give them that. This is probably the best reunion in a while. The last reunion, I don't know if it was the last or the one before, where they had like basketball. No, that's not gonna work for me anymore. We're gonna just need to hit all the points and talk to the people, and no more games and no more concerts. I think that maybe there was a concert on this one. I don't know. No one needs that. But yeah, we'll move on to some better reality TV. Which was, I watched Jury Duty for the first time this quarter, and that is the funniest show I've ever seen in my whole life. If you have not watched Jury Duty, I was cackling. That is master improv, master comedy, master reality TV. And I don't even know if you can call it reality TV, because it is like improv, and a lot of it is planned in a way. But of course, the one guy in the jury doesn't know that it's fake. And just the way people are willing to make fools of themselves to try to make this guy, I don't know, like crack. What was even the goal? I guess the goal was to just see like how he would react to this insane situation. But he was so sweet and so kind and such a sweet angel, and he deserved all the love he got at the end of that season. And I'm going to be real excited to binge watch the new season of Jury Duty, which is called Work Retreat. Uh, company retreat, because I've heard it's really good too, but I didn't watch it as it airs. I just wanted to have a time to just like watch it all. So I'm really excited to watch that maybe this week. But I've heard good things about that too, and I think we just need 100 seasons of that premise, because that is some of the best comedy I have seen in quite some time. um, I think we're done with TV. We're going to move on to movies. I don't think I've been to the movies since January. Um, it just hasn't been in my cards lately. I haven't been wanting to go, even though there's so many movies out in the theater that I want to see. So that's unfortunate. So hopefully I'll do some catch up this quarter, this second quarter of the year. But I don't know. What I have seen in theaters was an amazing experience in January when I was in London. I went to go see Hamnet with my friends, and I sobbed like a little baby. Um, if people on Twitter call that movie emotional manipulation, it was emotional and it sure did manipulate me because I cried, sobbed. It was so good. It's so funny because I actually did DNF that book Hamnet, because I found it to be so boring and I didn't like Maggie O'Farrell's writing, and I kind of stand by that. But the way Chloe Zhao put it on screen was just amazing. I thought every actor, every actress, especially Jessie Buckley, was just phenomenal. The kid actors were phenomenal. I know, is it Jacoby, the little one? Yeah, Noah Jupe is the big one. He's in it. He's amazing. Jacoby Jupe, the little one who plays Hamnet, he's a star. But the other child actors in the ones who play his sisters in the movie are also really wonderful too. And I think that whole cast really deserves their flowers. And honestly, I think even though they definitely were not snubbed in award season, to me they were snubbed because I don't know, they just deserved a lot more for those performances. And speaking of the Oscars, I watched a lot of Oscar nominees. None of the other ones were at the theaters. So I'll just go through those. I watched Begonia. Unfortunately, I was spoiled for this, so I don't think it hit as much as it could have, but it was an acting masterclass. I think Emma Stone is just one of the greats. And we don't have to wait for her to get older to say that. She is just absolutely one of the greats. And her work with Yorgos, did Yorgos make this movie? Probably. But anyway, I mean, Poor Things again. Amazing work, amazing work. And to have a muse like Emma Stone, I think probably makes your job a little easier because she is so talented and she can pull off so many things. Jesse Plemons was really great in that movie too. Um, Next one I watched for the Oscars was Sentimental Value. This was good. I This was really good. This was a really great year for movies as far as the Oscars goes, and I put off watching a lot of them too much, as always. But Sentimental Value was really fantastic. Um, the story about the family was, just it really was relatable, but also the way it was directed was absolutely beautiful. And I loved the ending scene. I thought it was really, really powerful, um, in the way it rounded out the movie. And I thought this was directorially just such a great technical masterpiece. So that's my feelings on Sentimental Value. Um, Next one I watched was a short film that is available here on YouTube, for free, and that is two people exchanging saliva. This was a little French short film, about a young woman who works at a retail shop in a dystopian version of France, um, where instead of paying for merchandise with money, you pay for it with physical violence or small acts of physical violence, is the way it's described. So, a considerably wealthy is what she is seen. She is definitely like framed as a considerably wealthy woman, um, who is in a obviously like not a happy marriage, as we can tell, from her characterization, comes into the retail shop and starts purchasing items from this young woman, who works there. And to purchase them, she has to be slapped. And it's so crazy. And it's crazy how the short film frames violence as wealth and like abuse, like visible abuse as well. And I think the world was very interesting. Loved the story between the two characters. Highly recommend if you haven't got a chance. It won the Oscar for best short film, so I really think you should check that one out because I was really happy that I kind of like pushed myself to check out the short film nominations this year. That was definitely a favorite, and I 100% was like, yeah, that one's gonna win. And I actually loved The Singers too, which it tied with at the Oscars, and I thought that was like, if I could pick any like tie to happen this time around, I was kind of glad it was that one because I really love The Singers too. It made me cry. It's definitely not as full of context and substance as two people exchanging saliva. It's like half the length though, and it is a lot more about like assuming things of the characters. But it was really good and really touched me, emotionally because I did cry. So I liked The Singer as well. Another movie I watched for the Oscars was If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Rose Byrne is fantastic in that movie, but it was like a horror movie for me. It was like what people consider like uncut gems to be for them. That was that from me. So I don't think I'll ever watch that again, but it was really, I mean, I think the choice to never show the daughter was so interesting. And I mean, it really was just like building so much tension and so much frustration. And it was a horror movie. If you if you have any like feelings about what it's like existing as a woman or a mother figure in this world and the expectations that society puts on that figure, and the people even close to you puts on that figure, I would go into this prepared to feel very, very, very uncomfortable because it is definitely like an exposure horror film in that realm. Um, but again, talented, talented actress Rose Byrne. Um, I'm happy she got her flowers from people this award season for sure. Next thing I watched was Train Dreams. This was beautiful. This was my vote to win cinematography at the Oscars. It was so gorgeous, and I did cry at the end of this one too. It got me. It got me at the end. I was like, oh no, this one's not that sad. I mean, it's sad. Like the whole story is sad, but it's not gonna get me. And then it got me. It got me good. Um, and yeah, I think this is one you just go into not really like prepared for what's gonna happen, and you just go along with the story and where it follows and the characters you meet along the way. And that's just a really special way to watch Train Dreams. Um, I didn't think I would love it as much as I did, but I really, really did. And I think you should check it out. It's on Netflix. Netflix really had their hand in the game this Oscars, and I have to give it to them, even though I would never praise that company in my life. Last movie I'm going to talk about is Twinless. This is the movie where Dylan O'Brien plays twins, and it's also got, what is his name? He looks like Mike's Mike, but it's not Mike's Mike. Um, I forget what else he's in, but he's the main character of Twinless. And I watched this on the plane back from London. Yes, I was trying to think if it was to or from, but it was back from London, and I didn't expect how good of an actor Dylan O'Brien still is. Obviously, I have a deep love for Teen Wolf, and I think he's an amazing actor in that series. But I think the only thing I've seen like post him in Teen Wolf is that movie I'm Not Okay, where the influencer girl gets canceled and he plays basically like um, his own version of Jake Paul or Bryce Hall. And it was good, but it was like, it was whatever. It wasn't a huge role. But in Twinless, he plays two different characters and he's amazing. I mean, it is like two different people, and he does an amazing job of playing gay. And he should honestly play gay more because he was so realistic in that role as the gay twin, and that movie was so fun and had a lot of heart to it, and I think it was really good. So I highly recommend Twinless too. If you're ever on a plane, it's probably on your little screen. So, like I said, I haven't had that great of a reading year. I only read 22 books in my first quarter, which it does mean I'm still behind on my reading goal when I was so far ahead of my reading goal this time last year. But hey, reading comes in waves, and that's okay. I had a lot going on this first quarter, travel and work. So I'm not going to beat myself up about it too much because I know 22 books is still a lot. But I definitely could have done better. And the books I was reading could have been better. That was another part of it is I just wasn't really like finding ones that I absolutely love. Don't get me wrong, we have some great books to talk about. But a lot of them were disappointments. So let's just get into this. Usually, I always start my year with a reread, and this year I finished a series I've been rereading. And so I read the last Shades of Magic book, A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. Again, this was a reread, and this book was 5 stars. The first time I read it, it was 5 stars. This time, I really enjoyed like having the reminder of how everything wrapped up after rereading the first two books over the past few years. And I am excited for more of this because I think there's another book coming in this series. Or like a companion series like this year. I could be so wrong because I think there's also Victorious, which is the third book in the Vicious series. I don't know. V.E. Schwab never stops writing, so these books could already be out, and I'm just talking about it. I will get there one day. But A Conjuring of Light was great. If you haven't read the Shades of Magic series, A Darker Shade of Magic, and you're looking for a really cool fantasy book, highly recommend that one. It's one of my favorite like world buildings. I love the setup of the three different Londons and the different worlds and how you pass between them, and the different levels of magic that each of the worlds have. I think it's really such an interesting setup that it is even better that the characters are also great as well. So, highly recommend the Shades of Magic series. And I'm glad that was my first book of the year because things started going downhill fast after that. Um, the next book I read was The Crash by Frida McFadden. Now, I've talked about Frida McFadden on this podcast before, and I have shared how she always just puts in a twist at the end that makes me hate the rest of the book. And that's not true for The Crash because I hated the whole book the whole time. Yay. The Crash is about a woman who crashes her car and gets taken by this man who she thinks is going to hurt her. And she gets tied up in the basement. And his wife is there, and there's things we don't know. And of course, like any mystery, and things get unraveled about her past as well because she's also pregnant. So that's also a big issue. So there is this book was really predictable in the worst way, and I really don't think I can pick up another Frida book after this. I probably will because they are like interesting enough to get me into reading if I'm feeling slumpy. But with the way they always turn out, and they make me so angry. I just don't I just don't know if I can do it again. But The Crash was definitely the first one. No, The Crash was definitely the worst one I've read from her, and I think you can read a lot of spoiler reviews and get exactly why I feel that way. I don't think it's that surprising. She has a lot of misses. I just got to get one of her hits if I do continue trying, and I hope I can because she has a lot of books. And like I said, they are interesting, but this one was a total miss for me. The next one I read was part of my 26 and 26 TBR, and that is The Captive Prince by P.C. Pacat. I've always wanted to read this book since I was a teen, maybe even a tween. It's been around for so long. It's one of those really popular self published books that has a lot of controversy around it. I see it a lot in the same realm as The Foxhole Court, which I don't know why. I just never got to The Captive Prince because definitely seems like it would have been something right up my alley back in the day when I was like 17. But I'm reading it a whole decade later. And I probably would liked it a lot more as a teenager. I gave it 3 stars, so I'm not saying it was bad. I just don't really have an interest in continuing. The main characters I didn't like fall in love with, or their growing relationship, which I know like really doesn't exist too much in the first book. Um, I just am not interested in seeing where it goes from here. I thought the setup to the like political world in this one was actually pretty good. That was probably the parts I liked the most. But yeah, like I just said, I don't think I'm interested enough to continue it. If I would have read this a decade ago, I would have ate this up. But unfortunately, I did not. So we're going to move on from The Captive Prince. At least I can say now that I've read it. Um, Next one I'm talking about is Dungeon Crawler Carl. Everyone loves this book, and I definitely see why. The audiobook is fantastically produced. It's cool in the way it's set up, like the story, like the world ending and by aliens, and the aliens throwing all the surviving humans into a game show that has these different levels. You have to crawl through like an actual dungeon, levels of a dungeon, and all the characters we meet along the way. And of course, the cat is a character as well that talks. I liked that. Um, but other than that, this book just wasn't for me. I just don't think it was for me. I see what people enjoy about it, but it wasn't for me. I was never interested. I was never hooked, and I never cared. So I did give this book 2 stars, which is sad because the majority of people give it like 4 or 5 stars. And it has so many books in the series, and people love it so much. And I really wanted to. I wanted to, but yeah, it just wasn't for me, unfortunately. But the cat was really fun. I will give it that. That was a really fun character to have. I forget her name. It's like Princess Donut, I believe. The next one I read was Julie Chan is Dead. This was so good. This is like a mystery influencer twin book. That's all I'm going to say because I think you should go into it like blind, like I did, and just go with the story because it is a crazy ride. Um, it is by Leanne Zhang. I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, this is probably the first book I read this quarter that was like, okay, maybe I do like to read, and maybe there are good books out there. So I was really happy to enjoy um, Julie Chan is Dead. The next book I read was a book club pick, and it was Loved One by Aisha Muhara. Um, this is a book I don't remember it too much because I do know it was about grief and like losing a best friend, I believe. Um, that maybe was also romantic in some way. Um, I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty much just an okay book. It had, some emotional parts, and it was pretty decently written. But like I said, not very memorable. I had a fun time discussing it in book club, but after book club, it kind of disappeared from my brain, and that's okay. Some books are like that. Um, some books you want that to happen to, and they just don't. Um, but this one just disappeared, and I think I would still recommend it because like I said, it was really nicely written. And so if you like books about grief and about flawed characters, that's who I would recommend Loved One to. The next one I read was The Mating Game, which is a romance book with the Omegaverse, or I think Trad Publishing calls it Shifterverse. Um, it's no fun when it's not like I don't know. This feels like PG Omegaverse, even though it's not. It's very smutty. But I don't know. It just doesn't have I don't know, the appeal of other shifter romances I've read. I found these characters to be so boring once they got together, and I hate that. I hate when you're rooting for characters to get together and they do, and they're so boring. There's no substance left. You're rooting for these characters, and they get together and there's just, I mean, the book should just end because the 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 small bits of conflict, they're going to work out, because of they're kind of like not high stakes. Um, and you just lose me on that. So I gave the mating game 2 stars at the end of it. I was really liking it at the beginning, or at least it was, it was okay. I was interested, but by the end of it, I was so ready for it to end, and I just didn't give a damn about the two love interests. So I ended up giving the mating game by Lana Ferguson 2 stars. Next one I read was like everybody's most anticipated book of the year last year. That was Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I liked this, I think, more than other people that I've seen. This book is a journey through hell with academic rivals, and people were really down on this book by like how much romance was in it, or that it was a romance, because it definitely is, but it also has really cool like hell lore. I liked the parts of them walking through hell. I liked how hell was set up in this world. I liked how things were revealed to us in a lot of ways with the timeline and how you went back and forth. Um, but I do think this book could have been edited down a lot. Um, I liked the relationship, but it could have been a bit more focused. Like it should have fully, like gassed down on the romance if we were going to do it. And I think that would have made the focus a lot better. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It's a high 3 stars though, because I did really enjoy it, but it was too damn long. And yeah, that would be my main critique, is that it just needs a little bit more focus. But I loved the hell stuff, and I thought it was a great setting for like a dark romance book, but not like dark in the way TikTok talks about dark romance, but like I guess like dark in as in setting romance book. Yeah, I liked Catabasis. Next one I read was The Compton Cowboys. I'm going to read the whole title. The Compton Cowboys, the new generation of cowboys in America's urban heartland, a narrative of black identity, trauma, and healing. This was really good. I have a full review of this on Goodreads. I think I gave this 4 stars. It is by Walter Thompson Hernandez, and it follows a ranch of black cowboys, cowgirls, cow people in Compton, in LA, or outside of LA, and it follows them one by one, their lives and the things they've got going on. But every chapter where you talk to a new person and you get to know them, you're also seeing the intertwining lives of the people working at the ranch and what they mean to each other and how they care for each other in their place in this community, and how it is partly dying out but also growing as well, and how that affects them financially, mentally, emotionally, and the resources they have for each other. And it was so good. I loved this setup of a nonfiction book where you're overall focusing on this community, but you're following people one by one, to see how each person's life intertwines into that community. And it was such a great setup of a nonfiction book. It was such a good read for the beginning of the year. It was one of my favorites at the beginning of this year for sure. I just highly recommend this one. I picked this one up at a free book giveaway, and I'm so glad I did, because I probably never would have had any interest in, um, you know, the Compton Cowboys and the people who work on ranches in that area of the world. I'm from the South. I know there's a bunch of, I mean, obviously, I grew up on a farm with horses and things. I've been around it my whole life. And of course, I knew that there was, that kind of life other places, like in Texas. We talk about Texas a lot in this book, and out west, of course, that's cowboy culture right there. But the way they talked about their specific culture within this community that they built, along the years, and what it means to them specifically, and the stereotypes that they work against, and also, you know, are true, that are just parts of their community, and how it affects them, was it was heart heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking at times, but it was also very touching at times as well. And I loved the relationships between the different people we talked about. That was definitely my favorite part. It was just such a very human look at a community. And I love books that just feel like I'm just talking to people, like I'm just getting people's life story and just having a conversation with them. And that was definitely how I felt. I actually listened to this one on audiobook, and it was really great. So that's definitely how I felt listening to this one. Next thing I read was The Love Con by Ceresia Glass. This is a romance book about a woman who does cosplay, and her best friend who helps her a lot with her cosplays. And she's entering this cosplay contest that ends up being a reality show. Um, and of course, love ensues with the best friend character. It's a friends to lovers book, which I love friends to lovers. So I was excited for this one, and I gave it a 3.75. It was very good. I loved the romance between them. I thought they were so sweet. And I loved the story of the cosplay convention competition thing, and how like reality TV came into play in it. I just wish that would have caused, I felt like it was inching towards more conflict created by the reality show. And that's what I wanted out of this book at the end. Like, that's what I wanted, like, the third act conflict to be. To come off of, and I don't think it really did, which was kind of a disappointment for me and kind of dropped it below that 4 stars. And another thing is that it was very, I wouldn't call it closed door romance, but it wasn't detailed. And I don't know. I know that's like up to the author, but I could have definitely used some more explicitness in this romance book from these two, because I thought they were very, very steamy when they spoke to each other. And so I was kind of sad when things didn't go into detail in that situation, because especially the male love interest, he just was so enamored by her. And yeah, I really love their little romance story. Like I said, the conflict maybe wasn't what it could have been just for me, but it was good, and I really would consider this a romance book I would recommend. The next one I read was The Situationship, which is a small novella released by Abby Jimenez with the Part of Your World series. I've been meaning to read this for a long time, and I had a credit on my Kindle, so I picked it up, and it wasn't worth my time, but it was okay. Um, it was like, I don't know. Like, it just wasn't worth putting out there for the way it ended, but what can I say? It had the little pig from that series, so that was kind of worth it. And the cover's really cute. I ended up giving this 2 stars. It's hard for me to give novellas a high rating, anyways, because I do think a lot of them don't really fall into the art of a novella and how you can actually use minimal pages to build what you want to. Usually, they're they're just writing like a short of the series, and sometimes that's great. This time it was just kind of a miss for me, but love Abby Jimenez. I will be excited to read. I have 2 new releases to catch up on her this year, so those are definitely on my list, because I think one just came out this last week, and I just think she's such a great writer when it comes to a long, good romance novel. So we'll look forward to her future books, but we will not be revisiting the situationship anytime soon. The next one I read is from another great romance novelist, in my opinion. That's Rachel Reed, who wrote Heated Rivalry, which I'm wearing on my shirt today. Um, I still haven't read the whole Game Changer series. I wanted to do a full marathon leading up to Unrivaled coming out, when I thought it was going to come out in September, but it's not coming out till next year now. So I don't know when I will do that full read of the Game Changers series, but definitely will happen this year. But I did end up reading one of her other hockey romances that's set outside of the Game Changers universe, called The Shots You Take. And it follows retired hockey stars. So they're a little older, and they are like ex best friends to lovers, kind of like they were best friends. They were also a little down low, perhaps. Little misconnection, things got in the way, life got in the way, and our main character, I forget his name. One of them's named Gavin. Is it? It doesn't matter. But the main character we follow, his dad has just died, and his ex best friend shows up at the funeral, and they're in this small Canadian town now together for the first time in forever. And he finds out his ex best friend is divorced, and things things ensue from there. And I loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was a high 4 stars. It was absolutely just so much fun. It was it was great to have like retired hockey players looking back on their time as players together, and what it was like and the kind of pressures they were each under and figuring themselves out. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I love the small town setting too. It was so fun. So if you like the Game Changers universe, if you like Heated Rivalry, I definitely encourage you to check out the Shots You Take, because this is definitely. I've heard that this is like other people's favorite one besides Heated Rivalry. So I can't say that for sure yet because it's the only one I've read besides Heated Rivalry in the long game. But maybe just trust us. Next one I read was another nonfiction. This was Hijabi Butch Blues by Lamia H. Um, it was objectively such a fantastically written memoir. It dived really deep into this person's thoughts and their views on religion and society, and I really, really, um, I really did enjoy it. um, I had a 2-year wait on Libby for this one, and I do think it was worth it. So if you do get a chance to listen to this one or pick it up, I highly recommend. It's just a really great memoir, and that's all I can really say about it because, I mean, it really does cover so much. It's not terribly focused on one certain part of the author's life, but overall, their feelings on a lot of different things. And like I said, society, how it views not only lesbians and queer women, but religious queer women. And so that was definitely interesting, especially hijabi queer women. I think was a very interesting perspective to see the world through in this book. So, like I said, highly recommend. And the audiobook was great. So, I think that's another good audiobook recommendation from me. The next one I read was an arc that I picked up during my sports romance craze that I thought would continue, and it really didn't. So maybe I didn't give this book a fair shot, but this was my first F1 romance. I don't know if F1 is for me. I don't even watch F1. I don't know why I picked this one up. It's Drive Me Crazy by Liz Dent. Like I said, I requested the arc. I got it. Um, I read it. I gave it 2 stars. I did not like these main characters at all. I did not like them together. They were childhood friends slash crush to lovers, to enemies to lovers, and neither of these people should be together. I did not see the chemistry. I did not see why they wanted to be together or why they liked each other. I thought they were both just kind of flat in their character development personally. And I didn't like the world of F1 either, unfortunately. So I don't think I'll ever read another F1 romance. And I'm not really sad about that one. The next one is a romance book that I was really liking at the start, and that was How to End a Love Story by Yuling Kwang. This book has such an interesting setup. It follows our main character who is a best-selling novelist and is now selling the rights to her best-selling series to become a TV show, and she's working with the writers of the TV show in Hollywood, and one of the writers on the team just happens to be a guy who went to high school with her, who ran over her sister when her sister jumped in the street to commit suicide. Yeah. Um that's rough. That's rough. I don't know what I would do, what kind of situation I would feel. I I do think it was handled really great from the beginning. I liked the development of their relationship, and getting to know each other again and all of that from the start. I thought it was very compelling story. However, I think a lot of communication was left out of the development of the story. I felt like a lot was set up to be talked about, to be hashed out between them, and their between them and their families as well, and it just didn't happen. And so the more I got to the end of this one, the more I was not enjoying it anymore. And by the end, I was just ready for it to end, and I didn't feel the romance anymore, unfortunately. So I did end up giving this a 2.75 because so much of it was so good, and it just didn't turn out for me in the end. And yeah, this was a hard one for sure. What a premise! Crazy. The next one was also a disappointment. Who would have guessed? This was a Spindle Splintered by Alex E. Harrow. This was my first Alex E. Harrow book, and I do plan on reading a lot more because so many people love these books by her. So this was a Spindle Splintered, which is a novella. Again, novellas can be hit or miss. This one was definitely a miss, but not because I don't think it had enough time to do what it needed to do. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it very much. I didn't like the relationship. I didn't like the world. I didn't like the fairy tale world that we're in and like how it's set up and like the portal fantasy of it all. I just didn't like it. So I gave it 2 stars. And yeah, I'm still excited to pick up more from this author. So I don't judge this whole thing. I don't judge the author on this whole thing. I just didn't like this book, and I think that's just the end of it all. I don't have many critiques. I don't think there's anything that I could say to make it better. It just overall, I thought I would like the premise, and then I didn't, and that's okay. The next one, however, was one I had been wanting to pick up for a really long time. It's another short book that was so good, and that was The Unworthy by, give me a second, Augustina Basterica. This is the same author who did Tenders the Flesh, an amazing horror novel, one of the best horror novels I've ever read, full of so much societal commentary and grotesque imagery. And this one was very similar in the sense that it was full of those kinds of things. And but this one followed a like cult. It's like a dystopian world, another dystopian world, dystopian horror. She eats that up. And it's dystopian world where there's a cult because there's only so many resources left in the world, and so you kind of have to find ways to survive, and one of the ways these people are surviving are joining this cult that is like kind of nun like. It's like a church to religious cult, and our main character is kind of like a nun. um and that's all I'm going to say premise wise, but there is a beautiful romance in this book. And it has such a like celebration of queerness in such a different, unique way that I really loved from this author. And I thought the world building was really great. I ended up giving this one 4 stars because I did want more at the end. I can't help myself. It was short, and I wanted more. I wanted to find out more about the world and these characters and how they ended up, but it's not the way it's not the way the book is. But I still enjoyed it nonetheless. And this is another one I really highly recommend. I just think this author is so great, and I plan on reading her short story collection this year as well. You know, some people I feel like I've heard that they don't like the writing in her books as much. And maybe that comes from them being translated works, but I really enjoy her writing style. And like I said, I think she does imagery and metaphor like really masterfully. So I'm looking forward to more books in, from her. The next one I read, oh boy, I'd had this one pulled out from Hoopla, and it was so I read it so I could hit one of my Goodreads goals. Um, and I really thought I was going to like it. It was a um, female lens look at medical misogyny. It's called All in Her Head: The Truth and Lies Early Medicine Taught Us About Women's Bodies and Why It Matters Today by Elizabeth Coleman. I gave this book 1 star. A lot of it was interesting. I thought a lot of it was also a little surface level in its commentary. But what I couldn't get past was the transphobia and the turf dog whistle. So this book got 1 star, and that's what it deserves. And I have a more detailed review on Goodreads if you want to check it out. But yeah, I think there's books that have a similar thesis that probably do it a lot better. And so I'm happy that Goodreads makes all these lists so you can check out books like that. But I'm sad that this is the one I ended up picking up. The next one I read was The Ladies in Hating. This is by Alexandra Vasti. This is the first book I've read in this series, actually. It's number 3 in the Balvors Library series. Other books in the series is like an Earl Crush. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, the other books are Regency romance novels. This one's also Regency romance, but it is sapphic. And our 2 main characters are rival novelists in this world, but they of course write under pen names in this Regency world because they're both women. And I enjoyed this so much. I loved both of the characters. I loved the little Regency world we were in, and the author drama of it all, and just like all the estate things that happened and all the research they did for their novels together and how their relationship grew over that time. They have a history, so we do talk about their history and how they got to this point where they don't like each other, and the kind of things that have happened to them as they've grown up in their lives and their families, and the secrets that each other don't know about each other. And it was so good. It's such a cute romance. I gave this one 4 stars, so I definitely recommend this. Another romance book I definitely recommend. I don't love too many historical fiction, historical romances. So when I like one, I think it's a good one. So I think you should check out Ladies in Hating. It was definitely a fun, like, rivals to lovers romance. The next one I read is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is coming out as a movie in May, I believe, on Netflix. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to go ahead and pick this one up, because it's everywhere, and Sally Field is going to be in the movie. So when I watched the teaser trailer, I was like, you know what, that looks pretty cute. I think I am going to read that book. So I think I got the audiobook. Yeah, I got the audiobook, and it was so cute. It was 5 stars. It was like one of the best books I've read in so long. I absolutely loved it. It made me cry. It made me laugh. One of the characters being an octopus is just fantastic. It's definitely like a little corny and cliche at parts, but like in the best kinds of way. Remarkably Bright Creatures definitely deserves this movie that it's getting, because I cannot wait to see it on the big screen. Big screen. It's a Netflix movie. I'm gonna watch it at home, but you know what I mean. Um, I'm so excited to see the octopus, and see his little journey that he goes on, to bring these characters together. And I think it deserves all the praise. And I cannot believe it's a debut. I don't know if you guys know this, but this book is a debut, and it is amazing. And it is, I mean, everywhere, and people love this book, and it definitely deserves, I think it deserves all the hype it's getting, for sure. And like I said, I can't believe it's a debut. It is fantastically written, fantastically set up. I mean, I definitely had guessed the twist by the time it came around, or I even call it a twist, I don't know, but the reveal. And it was still such a great setup, and the way it revealed itself to us, and the characters too, was so it was so touching, and it's definitely one of those books that I'll be thinking about for a long time. And like I said, I'm so excited for the movie. The next one I read was The Three Lives of Kate Kay by Kate Fagan. This was a sapphic like mystery thriller kind of. Um, it was interesting. I really did enjoy a lot of parts of this. I went back and forth with it a lot though, so I did end up giving it 3 stars, but it is one I would recommend to people. It's got a lot of mysteries intertwined, and a lot of them could have just been solved with a simple Google search. And that was so frustrating. That was so frustrating throughout the whole book. And there's one character in this that is an actual terrorist to everyone around her. Like she needs to be punished. Like I think she was committing crimes. I think she was actually committing like actual not defensible, indefensible crimes to these other characters. And I just felt like nothing happened at the end, but still it was a really fun book. I think I read this one on Kindle Unlimited, so it should be on there. But it was very interesting, and if you like a mystery with a little bit of romance or a good bit of romance in there, this is definitely. I think this is a fun one for sure. Next one I read was also on my 26 and 26 TBR, and that was Death of the Author. This was such a strange one to like explain genre wise because half of it is a sci-fi like journey, epic journey, and the other part of it is a it's a contemporary book about an author. And it builds up to how they intertwine at the end, and that was, I thought, a really cool part of it. But I did think it was a bit too long. That would be my main critique of it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. The the character work in this book was so good. The character we have as a main character for the majority of the book is a very flawed individual. Um, but she is also so interesting, and you can't help but root for her and want her to succeed. And her dynamics with the people around her, her family, the world, her fans, the audience, lovers, that kind of thing is so interesting because it's definitely, like I said, she's not perfect, but it's also really amazing to see how it affects her writing as well, because that is what she is. She's an author. And how that intertwines with the sci-fi timeline at the end was so interesting, and I didn't expect it. And I think this is a book you just kind of have to go into and trust that you're going to get a lot out of it, and it's going to be very interesting. But it does lag a little. For me, at least, it lagged a little, especially like in the middle. I just felt like we were starting like one problem after the other instead of a like one thing would get solved and then a new plot line would come up. And I just felt like it was a little bit of that over and over again, and I didn't know, like, okay, is this the big one? That's the big issue, that this is the climax of this novel. And I guess that's where I'm getting at, is I didn't think it really had a climax, and so I kind of felt a little lost in the narrative at times. But I mean, if you can get past that, if you can just get past some of the like maybe more drawn out parts of the story, it was so fantastic. And um like I said, such a unique take on this whole idea, and it was unlike any book I'd ever read before. So I'm definitely glad I picked this one up. Okay, Death of the Author was the last book I read um, this quarter. So that ends this video, or this podcast that we're now trying to put on video. So hopefully I get this out soon. But thank you guys for talking with me about my first quarter of 2026. I hope the rest of the year is a lot better, especially book wise. And yeah, we'll see you again for the next one.